Kabaddi is one of the fastest growing sports in the world and the fastest one in India. A decade ago, which happened to be a mere pastime sport, is now generating hundreds of millions. How did it happen so fast? And who are these two guys who revolutionized the sport by adding a glamour to it? Welcome to the channel and the story of the resurgence of an age-old game. The origin of Kabaddi dates back to approximately 4,000 years ago during Vedic period in the Indian subcontinent. It is said that for many years the game was played for physical exercise by the pupils in the Indian Gurukuls, which are nothing but schools of that period. There have even been accounts of Gautam Buddha or Lord Krishna having played an ancient form of this game. Over the centuries and millenniums, the sport itself differed in various places, having different sets of rules, but one thing was common. It traditionally has been a rustic and rural sport played in villages, not like on a mat inside of a stadium like you can see nowadays. But as civilization progressed in the modern era, so did the increased popularity of different sports, and Kabaddi was no exception. The basic rules of Kabaddi were formalized in India in the early 20th century. The game received its international exposure when it was demonstrated at the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin, and it was included as an event in the Indian National Games in 1950. Slowly, the game began to expand beyond India's borders, mainly in several Asian countries. And in 1990, the sport was included in the Asian Games. 12 years later, before the Asian Games in South Korea, Kabaddi was played indoors on a mat for the very first time, and that marked the first ever approach for the modernization of the game. And eventually the sport made its way to the first ever World Cup in 2004 and subsequently in 2007, where India beat Iran both the times in the finals. However, despite all these successes, the game was never that popular in India, let alone in rest parts of the world. Local tournaments might have had a fair amount of viewers, but it was treated as a pastime sport. No one was ready to watch that on the television. So it slowly was dying due to lack of funding and attention. The year was 2010. An official from the Asian Kabaddi Federation Devraj Chaturvedi met a commentator Charu Sharma at the Asian Games in China, and Sharma pitched his idea to him. He told him, "I've been trying to get a Kabaddi league started for 4 years and nobody bothered to reply to me." As a matter of fact, Kabaddi had been a priority sport in the government's book since the 2006 Asian Games Gold, but largely away from public notice. So next year, this duo met once again, where Sharma proposed a league with the venture capitalist Anand Mahindra as potential investor. But as things turned out, Anand was skeptical at the beginning. It was then former NBA chairman Heidi Uberat made him think about Kabaddi seriously. She said to him, "It's a fabulous sport because it has got big guys, it is very fast, it's aggressive and it is compact. It's like basketball and it's made for TV." So Anand was convinced and the investment was secured, and the duo started working under a firm named Mashal Sports. But there arose another problem. Several people inside the Indian Kabaddi Federation opposed it. To be precise, according to them, it was not worth taking a shot as the game was mostly played in the rural areas. Despite not being backed, the duo persisted through the next 2 years, constantly visiting state and national level events, conducting tons of surveys, and most importantly, convinced Star Sports Network to come on board as broadcasters. And finally, in 2014, Kabaddi got a glamorous makeover in the form of Pro Kabaddi League, modeling itself on the franchise-based Teams League. And what seemed impossible, the league achieved in its very first season. Its inaugural season had witnessed a massive 435 million viewers, making it second only to IPL in terms of viewership. And in 10 years, the game has witnessed a remarkable 32% surge in terms of viewership. Latest season has been seen around 60% increase in sponsorship valuations too, and the teams are currently valued at more than 1 billion Indian rupees. To keep their costs down and maximizing revenues, the league adopted a caravan format, which meant cities hosted matches in clusters rather than having teams and multiple television crews crisscross the country like they do in the all other leagues. And it became apparent that the caravan cost 1/4 of a scattered league, which is a massive number. And in India, nothing works quite like Bollywood. And PKL wasn't going to be the first league to not leverage the film industry's endorsements to its advantage. As a result, it has been a massive success. And with the latest introduction of the Women's League, the tournament will enhance its global appeal and push it to the mainstream. So, how did the game achieve success so quickly while other sports failed to do so? And what makes it so likable? Well, apparently there are two primary factors. Firstly, the matches are quick, 40 minutes long, and played during the evening primetime television slots, and the short season length makes it more interesting and keeps you on the edge. The game of strength, agility, and camaraderie is frenetic and intense, made more so by rule tweaks like do-or-die raids or super tackles. Stadiums illuminated by disco lights with Bollywood music blaring from the stands. It's kinda tailor-made for the television. And secondly, India boasts the culture of Kabaddi, mostly throughout rural areas in all parts of the country. Local tournaments and inter-village competitions kept the spirit of Kabaddi alive for a long time, and the league gave that connection with the game a proper global stage. Athletes who have been toiling in local amateur leagues a decade ago and modestly acquired a livelihood, now adorning billboards in the biggest cities. They found themselves in the spotlight with lucrative contracts, endorsements, and recognition. Meanwhile, Disney Star has a broadcasting deal of a whopping $110 million for 5 years, but the next deal is likely to be even much bigger. According to a recent survey, Kabaddi academies have increased almost threefold since the inception of the league. So did the apprentices in those institutions. So it's a complete turnaround for an ancient game from top to bottom. And flushed with success, league's organizers want to expand the game globally and to see Kabaddi become an Olympic sport. And that would be quite a massive challenge ahead, since it's still being played by less than 50 countries. But players from different parts of Europe, America, or Asia are joining the Kabaddi League, so it's an optimistic sign for the game's globalization. However, as we are talking about globalization, to make things more complicated, it's been 8 years since the last World Cup was organized, and the International Kabaddi Federation is kinda indolent in the matter of popularizing the sport. So it's a bit of a concern for the game itself. However, the game's growth still in the infancy stage, and the Pro Kabaddi League's journey has been topsy-turvy too because of some poor decisions from the organizers in the past. But looking at the increasing popularity and the numbers involved with the game, it definitely has the potential to become one of the most followed sports in the world.